Donald and Melania Trump. Heard of them? They may be one of the world's most famous couples, but a lot about their relationship is a mystery to this day. Here's, quite literally, everything we know.
Donald and Melania Trump's relationship began in New York, where the businessman met the Slovenian model in a nightclub. Although Donald is known for his gregarious nature and Melania is considered shy, the pair shared an undeniable chemistry from the start. This is the truth about their marriage. Donald first laid eyes on Melania Trump in 1998 at the Kit Kat Club in New York City after being introduced by an Italian businessman. Melania revealed on Larry King Live.
It was a great chemistry and energy. Something was there right away.
But in an interview with the New York Post, Melania's friend Edith Molnar said that Donald was there with another woman, so Melania didn't entertain his advances. But the Donald was smitten. The president-to-be told Tatler, "I'd seen her before on the runways and things, but her beauty utterly amazed me." Even though his Playboy friends told him not to waste his time because they'd already tried to court her, he persisted and asked for Melania's number. Melania recalled, "But I didn't give it to him because I knew who he was. He had all these ladies, so I wanted to see what kind of number he would give to me." Although she was skeptical, Donald didn't give her his business line, but his personal digits. She called him a few days later, and the rest is history. Melania and Donald Trump tied the knot and had their reception in a $42 million ballroom at their Mar-A-Lago estate, which Donald had built from scratch. The compound is replete with 24-karat gold moldings, custom-made crystal chandeliers, and marble floors covering 11,000 square feet. Their guest list included Bill and Hillary Clinton, Billy Joel, who also performed, Anna Wintour, Heidi Klum, Derek Jeter, and Shaquille O'Neal. Melania, who was 34 at the time, wore a Christian Dior gown with a 13-foot train which reportedly cost $200,000. In fact, she graced the cover of Vogue wearing what the magazine called the dress of the year. Melania's engagement ring, from Graff Jewelers, cost $75,000 according to the New York Times. At the time, Donald was 58 and completely confident in his third union, as he told People, "If I didn't have a great woman, I would be much more nervous." When Larry King asked Melania if she was apprehensive on Larry King Live, she said,
We know what kind of relationship we have, and I don't think I should be scared of anything.
After he married Melania Trump, Donald Trump said he planned on having children with his new bride on an episode of Larry King Live, saying,
"I'm not going to be doing the diapers. She will be an unbelievable mother. I'll be a good father, but I'll be,
How do you know
doing my
she'll be
deals."
Subsequently, the couple welcomed their only child, Barron Trump, in 2006. Once he was born, Donald changed his mind about the fatherly duties, telling People, "I love to feed the baby, not because I have to, but just because I love it." Growing up in the penthouse of Trump Tower in New York City, Barron Trump enjoyed a lavish lifestyle. He had not only a nursery, but also a kitchen, living room, and nanny's quarters. Even as America's first couple, Donald and Melania make sure their son is protected from the media's scrutiny. Once Donald was sworn into office, Barron had a motorcade accompany him to school in Manhattan. To help him to complete his school year, Melania stayed in New York with Barron for 6 months, and they moved to the White House over the summer, according to People. For Donald Trump, third time's the charm when it comes to marriage. The ladies' man was married twice before he made it official with Melania Trump, with Donald Trump's first wife, Ivana Trump, with whom he was married from 1977 to 1992. He shares 3 children, Donald Jr., Eric, and Ivanka. While Donald was still married to Ivana, he had a public affair with actress Marla Maples. Their relationship made headlines when the New York Post released a cover with the alleged Maples, quote, describing Donald's prowess in bed. Donald ultimately married Maples in 1993 and had his 4th child, Tiffany Trump, with her 2 months later. By 1997, they were divorced. Donald Trump has a reputation for being a Lothario, and during his presidential run, many women came forward with allegations that he acted inappropriately towards them, according to ABC News. Standing by her man, Melania Trump adamantly defended him as he faced these scandals. In the first interview she did after 9 women came forward saying he groped them, she told CNN, "I believe my husband. This was all organized from the opposition." Another bombshell accusation came when the press revealed that adult film star Stormy Daniels was paid hush money by Donald's lawyer to keep a 2006 tryst with the president a secret, according to CNBC. Daniels told CBS that she confronted Donald about the fact that he was married, saying, "And he brushed it aside, said, 'Oh yeah, don't worry about that. We have separate rooms and stuff.'" There have been multiple instances where Donald Trump reaches for his wife's hand in public, only to be swatted away by Melania Trump. In these swats seen literally around the world, many are left wondering if their marriage is in crisis. To better illustrate the lack of PDA, the Lincoln Project posted a Twitter compilation of all the times Donald was denied his wife's hand. Besides the lack of hand-holding, the video also includes an awkward Melania Trump moment that was captured by millions. In the clip, which was filmed on Donald's inauguration day, Melania is seen smiling at her husband, but when he turns his back, her face distorts into an obvious frown. This moment generated quite a buzz in the media, with many people taking Melania's action to mean that she's in an unhappy marriage. It was during Donald Trump's inauguration that the media began commenting on Melania Trump's possible misery. After the frown seen around the world, Melania had a very uncomfortable-looking first dance with her husband to the song My Way. During the dance, Donald and Melania avoided eye contact. Soon after those televised events, the hashtags Free Melania and Sad Melania began trending on Twitter. And the very next day, protesters held signs at the Women's March that had Free Melania scrawled on them, according to Vanity Fair. In 2019, CNN's Kate Bennett even released a book titled Free Melania, the unauthorized biography, in which she paints a portrait of a jaded First Lady. In the tell-all, she claims that after the Stormy Daniels scandal, Melania intentionally traveled separately to the State of the Union address, refused to go with Donald on an overseas trip, and declined to hold his hand after a flight. During her husband's presidency, Melania Trump has tried to stay out of most political conversations, though she's assured America that she's very well informed and active behind closed doors, telling Harper's Bazaar, "I'm very political in private life, and between me and my husband, I know everything that is going on." Additionally, Donald takes his wife's advice to heart. In an interview with Barbara Walters on ABC News, he confessed,
She said you could tone it down a little bit on occasion, which I understand.
Melania has also admitted that the president is unencumbered by social niceties, saying in her speech at the Republican National Convention, "He is not politically correct, and he tells the truth. As you have learned over the past 5 years, he is not a traditional politician." In fact, Melania predicted her husband's presidential win years before he ran. As far back as 1999, Melania said he would undoubtedly be president one day, according to the Washington Times. Turns out, she was right.
How have things changed for Melania Trump after all the fame? Buckle in. Here are some of the reasons why Melania's life was never the same after marrying Donald Trump. Before she was Melania Trump, she was Melania Naus, the Slovenian girlfriend of New York's real estate mogul and a model that desperately wanted to be on the cover of GQ. The publication noted that back in the day, before she married Donald, Melania did a profile photo shoot on Donald's airplane, wearing nothing but handcuffs and diamonds. So it's no surprise that Melania's life was never the same after she married Donald, because instead of appearing in magazines in her birthday suit, Melania graced the cover of Vogue in her wedding dress. Gone were the days of chrome props and handcuffs, as Melania traded life in the model fast lane for the life of a New York socialite. As the New York Times reported, Mrs. Trump then settled into a life that, were it not for her husband's presidential aspirations, might resemble that of any number of trophy spouses in New York, Palm Beach, and Paris, the 3 cities Mrs. Trump says she loves most. Melania also used her marriage to the mogul to boost her own business ventures and started 2 companies of her own, Melania Timepieces and Jewelry and Melania Caviar Complex C6, according to Entrepreneur. Before Melania married Donald, she was somewhat famous, but after she and the so-called self-made billionaire got hitched, her profile skyrocketed. As NBC News pointed out, she had appeared on a number of magazine covers as a model, but Melania's marriage solidified her spot on the media stage. When she and Donald got married in January of 2005, Melania stole the spotlight not only for her regal beauty, but also because the dynamic between her and her new husband was very telling. According to The New Yorker, the Donald was happy with his new bride and was described as uncharacteristically bashful on the big day. In that moment, it's as if Melania's fate was sealed, and her life would never be the same. Since becoming First Lady, Melania's life has continued to evolve. According to the Washington Post, she appeared on the cover of Vanity Fair Mexico in 2017, a decision that got some blowback given her husband's immigration policies. Everyone knows that the First Family is protected by the Secret Service, but after Donald took office, Melania had to adjust to intense protection. According to the Washington Post, she and Donald had a bodyguard before their time in the White House, but the scale of protection drastically escalated. Secret Service members were always by the door, and Melania was worried at the amount of hate her husband had to contend with. Speaking about the drastic change, an insider revealed, "At the core, I think she's a private person who spent a lot of time adjusting to public life." After Donald got elected, Melania made it known that she wasn't going to budge on a number of things. Specifically, she wouldn't leave Manhattan until her son Barron finished the school year, but because of her steadfastness, Melania's standing with Donald's friends began to change. According to the Washington Post, the first weeks of Donald's administration were marked by, quote, personnel clashes, embarrassing leaks, and a controversial travel ban that caused major protests at airports. Some said that the new president was unhinged during press conferences and that chaos was imminent. Donald's friends began to lash out at Melania as they saw her choice to stay in New York as part of the problem. Donald's friend and chair of his inauguration reportedly said, "That woman, she will be the end of him. She is stubborn. She should be with her husband." Things got so desperate that Melania's standing with Donald's grown children began to change, as they allegedly started calling her and insisting she spend more time with their father. A presidential run seems to upend everything in life, and that was something that Melania was extremely aware of when Donald won the election in 2016. As the Washington Post pointed out, Melania was not thrilled about the changes that were set to take place in her life. According to an inside source, she told people to stop calling her First Lady after the election took place. Melania is reportedly a careful planner, and she wanted to take her time to do things the way she wanted to. As the Post reported, no matter how intense the pressure during the campaign, she refused to be hurried. Melania was used to press coverage before marrying Donald, but after the wedding, her personal and political choices were suddenly the subject of articles, and she often found herself navigating stories about scandal. For example, Melania had to answer questions about power and illegal speculations, like the expository reporting from the Daily Mail that accused her and her former modeling agent of running an escort service in the 90s. Thanks to her marriage to Donald, every aspect of Melania's past and present was fair game for reporters. The drastic changes in Melania's press coverage continued to be a sore spot for the Donald. In December 2020, he shared a tweet from Breitbart News that said, "The elitist snobs in the fashion press have kept the most elegant First Lady in American history off the covers of their magazines for 4 consecutive years." Before Donald's political career, Melania's life in New York seemed glamorous. Her residence was the gorgeous penthouse in Trump Tower, and she dined at Manhattan's finest restaurants. But after Donald won the White House, Trump Tower became ground zero for protests, which meant that security was seriously beefed up, according to The Guardian. There was even a no-fly zone put in place over the building. Gone were the days of Melania being able to step out onto Fifth Avenue. She was trapped inside by supporters, protesters, law enforcement, and the press. Despite the turmoil on her doorstep, Melania was determined to stay in New York so her son could finish school. But according to the Washington Post, remaining in Manhattan had a big price tag. Her presence created a huge problem for security and law enforcement, and the NYPD said it cost at least $125,000 a day to protect her. When Donald went from reality television star to president, Melania's influence over him began to shift. Instead of being asked questions about fashion, she was being asked about immigration policy, Donald's stances on the issues, and her influence on his decision-making. According to the Washington Post, Former White House press secretary Sean Spicer explained, "Melania is very behind the scenes but unbelievably influential. She is not one to go in and say, hire this person, fire this person, but she lets the president know what she thinks, and he takes her views very seriously." The sentiment about Melania's influence was shared by New Jersey's former Governor Chris Christie, who said, "She picks her spots when she wants to speak assertively, but when she does, the president listens." Donald was actually once a registered Democrat, and other famous Democratic politicians used to run in the same circle as the Trumps. Believe it or not, Hillary and Bill Clinton attended Donald and Melania's wedding. According to PolitiFact, Hillary attended the ceremony and Bill showed up at the reception. One U.S. representative said in 2015, "Mr. Trump has a close friendship with Bill and Hillary Clinton. They were at his last wedding. He has contributed to the Clinton Foundation. He has contributed to Mrs. Clinton's Senate campaigns. All of this is very suspicious." Of course, since the Donald ran for president and eventually took office, things majorly changed. When it comes to rubbing shoulders with politicians, it's safe to assume that the Clintons aren't exactly fans of the Trumps anymore.
Making Donald Trump our commander-in-chief would be a historic mistake.
According to the BBC, Melania was once a small-town girl, the daughter of a car salesman and a designer. She traded in that life for one of modeling and glamour and made her way to the United States. But due in part to her association with her husband and the controversial nature of some of his policies, Melania's home country made their feelings about the native Slovenian known. According to the BBC, a statue of Melania in Slovenia was set on fire in July 2020. Apparently, many people didn't think the statue was all that cute to begin with. But the news still wasn't great for the First Lady. The statue was made by American artist Brad Downey and was set on fire on July 4th, the United States Independence Day. The statue was promptly removed, but the damage was already done. It's easy to fall out of touch with friends when you move to another state or leave a job, but Melania suffered losses in her friendship circles in part due to her marriage to Donald. According to the New York Times, Melania's former close friend Stephanie Winston Wolkoff released a book called Melania and Me, a tell-all about the First Lady and the friendship the two women once shared. Wolkoff and Melania met in 2003 and became quite close, and Wolkoff even became an advisor in the White House. But the friendship between the two women changed in February 2018 when Wolkoff resigned after damaging reports about her involvement with the inauguration came to light. She wrote in her book, "Being with her was like having the sister I never had before, but a really confident, perfectly coiffed, ultimate older sister." But the tone shifted drastically. She went on to write, "Her selfishness is so deep, it enables her to keep her distance from the rest of the world."
There's nothing in the book that I can't back up. Not one word. And Donald and Melania know that.
Donald and Melania Trump tend to be private about their marriage, but sometimes they let loose and go full PDA. From a campaign rally embrace to a baseball game smooch, these are the rare occasions where the Trumps couldn't keep their hands off each other. 2016 was a year of huge change, not just for America, but for the Trump family. However, before Donald Trump secured his victory in the presidential election, he had to campaign, so he attended every rally he could in the lead-up to the big night. The first hurdle was becoming a presidential nominee. On July 18th, the Trumps attended the first day of the Republican National Convention in Cleveland. When Donald took the stage, he was joined by his wife, Melania. During her speech, Melania highlighted her husband's kindness, saying,
"This kindness is not always noted, but it is there for all to see."
There are several photos of the couple lightly canoodling on the stage, either hugging or leaning in for a kiss. There was one moment where Melania put her hand up to the crowd as she planted a smooch on her husband's cheek. Donald made a face as she did so, seemingly welcoming this public show of affection from his wife. That said, body language expert Patty Wood told Us Weekly that the couple's PDA moments at the 2016 RNC felt fairly stiff. After looking at one of their embraces, Wood stated, "That was not even a real hug. There was no real warmth." Regardless, Melania seemed happy to be there to support her husband.
We have a very, very, pretty much equal relationship, wouldn't you say?
While attending a New York Mets game in 2009, Donald couldn't keep his hands off his wife. Just a few years into their marriage, these lovebirds regularly attended public events together and seemed to enjoy one another's company. Donald said as much on a 2011 episode of The Oprah Winfrey Show. He told the host, I really think that we have a very good friendship. We've had a very good relationship and a really great friendship. What's more, they seem to be a strong team who respected one another. As Melania told Oprah, "To be married to my husband, you need to be very smart, quick. You need to be very independent in a way."
Donald is a husband who supports me in all that I do.
Even before she was the First Lady, Melania was a source of intrigue for the press. In a piece about the couple in New York Magazine's Intelligencer, the outlet noted, "We've always sort of thought that Melania and Donald Trump looked like one another. They both do this Sports Illustrated swimsuit model pose for pictures, where they squint their eyes and open their mouths a little bit." In 2018, Donald Trump's tenure as president had reached the halfway mark, and there'd long been whispers about whether or not Melania liked being First Lady. As an unnamed source claimed to Vanity Fair in 2017, this isn't something she wanted, and it isn't something he ever thought he'd win. Whether that sentiment was true remains unclear, as neither Melania nor Donald reacted to the rumors at the time. Instead, they continued to appear in public as they usually would, including at a state arrival ceremony on the South Lawn at the White House when they welcomed French President Emmanuel Macron. At one point, Donald placed his hands on his wife's arms and brought her in for a kiss as she tilted her white hat upward. Even so, the brim of the hat still seemed to get in the way, and Donald pivoted to doling out some quick air smooches instead. In 2004, Melania and Donald were photographed happily embracing as they left Trump Tower in New York. Melania even landed a kiss on Donald's cheek as he smiled into the distance, seemingly playing up to the cameras. Even back then, the couple knew how to work their angles and give the media what they wanted. Though some may argue their body language is a little stiff and performative, Melania is often pictured smiling in this era and looking at ease. There have been plenty of dramatic Trump family moments over the years, but every now and then they offer glimpses into what their dynamic might be like behind the scenes. In 2016, Donald pulled Melania in for a kiss during a campaign rally at Wilmington International Airport in North Carolina multiple times. Wearing a white version of his signature Make America Great Again hat, Donald appeared to be in the mood to show a little affection. When Melania introduced Donald, he embraced her and the two shared a kiss. As his supporters cheered him on, Donald hugged Melania before they kissed once again. As the cheers continued, the two smiled at each other before Donald planted another smooch on Melania's cheek. The two also held hands as they walked side by side at the event. The same year, Melania gushed about her husband during her speech at the Republican National Convention. She told the crowd,
I have been with Donald for 18 years, and I have been aware of his love for this country since we first met.
No matter the outcome, Donald could rest assured that his wife and the rest of his family had his back throughout his political career. If Melania ever felt differently at the time, she didn't show it. After her husband became president, Melania's lavish life looked a little different. Sure, she still resided in luxurious properties and wore designer clothes, but she also took on a number of important and official events. One such event was a 2018 event hosted in the East Room in honor of the wives and mothers of military personnel. During the event, the Trumps stayed by one another's side. At one point, Donald wrapped his arms around Melania's torso, pulling her in for a little kiss as they smiled at each other. It's not often that the pair kiss each other on the lips in public, instead choosing to exchange a polite peck on the cheek. Melania happened to be the host of the event, telling the attendees, "As a mother myself, I know what goes into raising a child. It takes an incredible amount of strength, a lot of time, a generous amount of patience, and all of your love." When Melania turned the podium over to her husband, he began by singing her praises. He told the audience,
She's become a very, very popular First Lady. I'm reading that.
No matter how you view it, being president isn't an easy job. For better or worse, Donald saw out his term in the White House amid much turmoil. Through it all, Melania was there. In 2020, toward the end of their stay in the White House, the couple hosted the Republican National Convention at the property's historic Rose Garden. The summer event was one of the last the couple would throw, and they didn't miss the opportunity to put on a united front. At one point during the RNC, Donald pulled Melania toward him and gave her a quick kiss. As one of the day's speakers, Melania praised her husband and expressed her desire to see him run the country for another term. She told the crowd, He has built an administration with an unprecedented number of women in leadership roles and has fostered an environment where the American people are always the priority. He welcomes different points of view and encourages thinking outside of the box. The year proved to be a tumultuous one for the Trumps, who both tested positive for COVID-19 at the height of the pandemic. Donald famously came under fire for suggesting a possible treatment for the virus could be injecting disinfectant. And to top it all off, he lost the election in November of that year to Joe Biden.
We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
There are many possible reasons why Melania and Donald Trump stay together, but could it be as simple as love? Admittedly, a lot of their PDA moments captured on camera don't always look relaxed and natural, and it's rare to see them kissing on the lips. But it does happen. In 2019, the couple hosted another celebration for military mothers in the East Room of the White House. Melania wore a figure-hugging white dress with embellishments, while Donald opted for a standard navy suit with a blue and red tie. At one point, Donald was photographed placing his hands on his wife's upper arms to go in for a kiss on the lips. While it might read as a tender moment to some, others not so much. As body language expert Patty Wood told Insider, there's a distinct difference between that grip, the tension, the placement, the indent on somebody's arm, and a hold, embrace, to enjoy somebody being close to you. As they made their way through the White House, the Trumps were also photographed holding hands tightly. And when Melania spoke before the room of military mothers, Donald offered her a gentle pat on the back as she thanked the attendees for their service. After Melania was done with her address, Donald took the podium and thanked her, saying,
And Melania, you did a beautiful job in organizing this incredible celebration of America's military mothers.
The entire Trump family was out in force for Donald's inauguration on January 20th, 2017, as all of Donald's children accompanied the newly elected president and first lady to Washington, D.C. to celebrate. Melania wore an impressive sky blue Ralph Lauren dress with matching gloves for the occasion. The couple beamed throughout the day and were often pictured holding hands or embracing. Sounds sweet, right? Alas, their interactions didn't read that way to everyone. As body language expert Susan Constantine told Mike, "If you didn't know that they were married, you wouldn't know that they are married. I don't see any warmth or true love and compassion in that relationship whatsoever." Whatever the case, the Trumps made an effort to present as a unified front throughout Donald's campaign and his time in office. At the Liberty Inauguration Ball, Donald expressed his gratitude to Melania before they danced to Frank Sinatra's My Way. He told the crowd,
"I want to thank all of our supporters. My number one supporter, Melania, what she puts up with. Oh."
When Donald Trump became the 45th president of the United States back in 2017, his third wife, Melania Trump, became the country's first lady. Because of the couple's high-profile political roles, the husband and wife found themselves under more scrutiny than they had ever faced before. And due to some seemingly awkward and possibly revealing behavior by them both while in full view of the public eye, Americans have been left wondering about the true status of their relationship. Nicole Moore, life coach and relationship expert, gave the list some exclusive insight into how Melania and Donald really feel about each other. Based on the couple's body language, her takeaway is pretty stunning. Moore believes that Melania definitely loved Donald at one point, but thinks things may have changed. Moore points to an ABC News interview that Donald and Melania did with Barbara Walters in 2015, noting that Melania's tone and energy changes when Barbara asks her about how she and Donald first met. The body language expert says that she has a genuine smile and her face seems to light up. And she also turns her head and body to Donald more, indicating that she feels like this is a shared experience with him. Moore explained, "The fact that she lights up when she talks about how they first met indicates that there was genuine love present when they met, and the love was likely still there when Donald was campaigning for president. However, that was then, and things seemed to seriously change when Donald became commander-in-chief." In the 2015 Barbara Walters interview, Melania claimed to be very happy that Donald was running for the presidency, even saying that she encouraged him to do so. However, according to Moore, her body language reveals something different. Moore told the list, "Melania does not seem to be genuinely happy that her husband ran for president. When two people are in on something together, they usually turn their bodies and faces toward each other when they are discussing it. The body naturally goes toward the partner as a way of revealing the shared emotions. But when it comes to Melania and Donald, that's not what was happening." Moore explained, If you notice how Melania is sitting when she says she supports her husband, she does not move closer to him at all. She turns her head, but just slightly, and she doesn't look at Donald in the eyes or smile at him. It seems as if she's more focused on saying the right thing, and you can tell by how rigid her body is. But that was back in 2015. How about now? The body language expert has a bold claim. Melania is lying about loving her husband. While that may seem harsh, the simple reality Moore claims is that Melania's love faded after Donald became president. The life coach told The List, Melania's body language definitely appears to indicate that the warm affection she had for her husband when they first met appears to have faded, perhaps over time, but definitely as he entered into his presidency. In 2018, Melania was asked point blank by an ABC News reporter if she loves her husband.
Yes, we are fine. Yes.
Moore notes that if you pay attention closely, her body language indicates something else. At the end of her sentence, she smiles in a way where she sucks her teeth in and nods her head a bit. This indicates that she almost feels as if she got away with something. It's saying, okay, I said what you wanted to hear. I hope you bought it. Now let's move on to a new question. If her love was genuine, she would have had a big smile when discussing it. Melania's feelings toward Donald may have grown colder, according to Moore. However, the life coach still thinks that the president has genuine affection for Melania. Moore explained that if you look back at the couple's first dance at his inauguration in 2017, you'll notice that Donald pulls Melania in very close at the start, which she thinks indicates that he wants to share the precious moment with her. Beyond that, he smiles deeply and pulls his face into hers to touch her cheek, which Moore says shows he wants to be close to Melania. However, Melania's body language during the dance told a different story, according to Moore. Her body language during the inauguration clearly shows her mixed feelings toward him, as if the affection she once felt for him is fading and starting to be replaced by a desire to pull away. This took place at the beginning of Trump's presidency, of course, and Melania has since become famous for rebuffing Donald's attempt to hold her hand. And even when she does hold his hand, her body language reveals a distance between them, according to Moore. When Donald and Melania are pictured together walking or dancing, it's clear that Donald Trump takes the lead. Melania is okay with that.
Just before Donald Trump was sworn in as the 45th President of the United States in 2017, he and his wife Melania stopped at the White House to meet with Barack and Michelle Obama. The then President and First Lady stood at the top of the steps to greet the Trumps upon their arrival. When their black SUV pulled up, Donald emerged from the back and headed directly up the steps to shake hands, leaving Melania to fend for herself. In an exclusive interview with The List, body language expert Nicole Moore revealed that Donald was in full me mode during the entire exchange, with little thought given to his wife. Moore observed, Melania sucked in her breath and inhaled apprehensively as she approached Michelle Obama to greet her. Her body language here indicates she was nervous or afraid. The situation did not improve for Melania. As the couples moved around each other to greet and pose for photos, Donald positioned himself directly in front of her, again putting himself first. Additionally, when all four headed inside, Donald charged ahead of his wife.
I'd rate myself less than a great husband.
A year into his presidency, Donald and Melania headed to Palm Beach, Florida to ring in 2018 at Mar-A-Lago. As they made their way into the building, Donald stopped to give a statement with his First Lady by his side. However, standing next to him is as cozy as the couple got. There was no hand-holding or even brushing of the shoulders. Moore observed how emotionally disconnected the two were, telling The List, Melania's body language indicates she's extremely uncomfortable and she's trying unsuccessfully to hold her discomfort in. After Trump's first term as president ended in January 2021, Melania made herself scarce, choosing to skip public appearances and live a more private life. The two did step out together in October 2021, though, to attend the fourth game of the World Series between the Houston Astros and the Atlanta Braves. While there were plenty of official photographs taken that day, one person caught a moment where Melania seemed to reveal her true feelings. As Donald was giving two thumbs up to the crowd, Melania rolled her eyes. Moore told The List it was a definite moment of unhappiness for the former First Lady, saying she appeared to be genuinely disgusted. Moore added that because Melania looked down during her eye roll, it seems that she was trying to hide her true emotions. She told The List, the fact that her eye roll moves so quickly back into a smile indicates that smile is inauthentic. In January 2024, Melania's mother, Amalia Noves, passed away. Both she and Donald attended the funeral services in Palm Beach and stood together outside the church for one final goodbye shortly after. Based on what she saw of the event, Moore told the list it seems as if the couple has established their own type of support system for such somber occasions. As Melania stands next to Donald, she appears sad, her eyes darting back and forth as if she's trying to control her emotions or stop her tears. Not once does she exchange looks with him, nor does she reach for Donald's hand or lean into him, Moore said. Melania's body language shows that she is internalizing her pain and not using her husband as a source of comfort. It appears the couple does not have the sort of relationship where they comfort each other with physical touch. Donald and Melania Trump clearly have an unconventional marriage, rocked with scandal and controversy. But even if they sometimes seem poorly matched, insiders say that when push comes to shove, they're actually perfect for each other. They say opposites attract, and in some ways this is true for Donald and Melania Trump. Family friend Philip Block has gone public with his opinion that the two are nothing alike. He told Mary Jordan, "Melania is gracious and polite and steady. She's the complete opposite of him, really." But in spite of their differences, it seems that Donald and Melania actually share some basic values. In an interview with GQ, Melania said, "I myself am similar to my husband. Do you understand what I mean? So is my dad. He is a family man. He has tradition. He was hardworking. So is my husband." She also compared Donald's sense of morality to that of her father, Victor Knaus. They have the same values. This could very well be true. Like the former president, who is famously litigious, Knaus once sued an ex-girlfriend for filing a paternity claim. Both men have also faced scandals involving their tax filings and enjoy owning nice things. As Melania put it to GQ, "My father likes quality." And of course, Donald is famous for his lavish lifestyle. According to Mary Jordan, Melania was so determined to keep Donald on the hook that she read all 17 of the ghost-written books Trump has published about his life to gain insight into why his previous marriages failed. She figured out what he wanted and delivered. As Jordan puts it, Melania praised him constantly. She had few friends and a small family and seemed focused solely on Trump. She was always impeccably dressed, her hair and makeup just so, never sloppy, always camera ready. Even during a brief period of time early in their relationship when they were separated, Melania kept her eye on the prize. According to Jordan, she continued to do exactly what Trump liked during their breakup period. She stayed in, she dated no one.
"I will stand by men."
One of the former First Lady's friends told Jordan that Melania was trying to prove her loyalty to her then future husband. Apparently, it worked. Ever since he began campaigning for the 2016 election, Donald Trump has been a polarizing figure. Over the years, he's become famous for making what are, at times, outlandish claims, many of which have been proven categorically false. But even in the face of plenty of evidence to the contrary, Melania has supported much of what he has said.
Do you believe he probably was born in America?
No. I say he might have been.
One such instance is Donald's unfounded claim that former President Barack Obama was born outside of the U.S. While Donald faced plenty of backlash for his comments, Melania appeared on the Joy Behar show to say, "It's not only Donald who wants to see Obama's birth certificate, it's American people who voted for him and who didn't vote for him. They want to see that." Behar pointed out that the birth certificate is in fact available to the public, noting a hard copy available in Chicago and a digital one accessible online. To this, Melania only doubled down on her husband's lie, saying, "We feel it's different than birth certificate." Her intense support for Donald's birther claim seems to indicate that Melania is on board with some of the more controversial aspects of her husband's political persona, and he knows it. Mary Jordan told The Guardian, "She's the first call he makes after a speech or a rally. This is probably not a coincidence." In the world of politics, a marriage is much more than just a union between two lovers, it's a way to get ahead. Historically, a president without a life partner has been nearly unelectable. There have only been 2 single presidents in American history, and one of them, Grover Cleveland, tied the knot during his first term in office. The other bachelor president was James Buchanan, who was elected in 1857. Because of this, it would be inadvisable, politically speaking, for Donald and Melania Trump to part ways. As a political candidate, Donald is much stronger with her by his side. During the 2016 election, she played a major role in convincing women to vote for her controversial husband. And during the 2024 election, it's been said that she gives Donald advice on how to appear more presidential, including, apparently, a firm warning against dancing off the stage.
I tell him my opinions. I tell him what I think. Sometimes he listens, sometimes he don't.
Of course, it's hard to say exactly how a divorce would impact Donald's political ambitions. However, Melania's willingness to campaign for her husband, however occasionally, has likely won him votes in the past. Couples who overcome challenges together often stick together, and when it comes to Donald and Melania Trump, this seems to be the case. According to Kate Anderson Brower, an expert on American First Ladies, presidential couples who faced scandals together often leave the White House with a deeper bond. Speaking to the Sunday Times, Brower explained, "When President Nixon resigned, I think it brought the Nixons closer together. When you feel like you're under siege, it does make some marriages stronger." Melania is one of the few people who hasn't abandoned Trump.
People come out saying lies and not true stuff.
Mary Jordan largely seems to agree with this assessment. In her own interview with the Sunday Times, Jordan shared, "The reports of his infidelities, his affairs with Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal infuriated Melania. But what I heard over and over again was that a bunker mentality developed, and she felt closer to him because both of them were taking criticism." Since Donald Trump's 2016 campaign for president, there's been a buzz of speculation around his marriage to Melania Trump. At his inauguration, a viral video showed Melania smiling while Donald looked at her, then scowling as he looked away, and she seemed to refuse to hold his hand in public over and over. Publicly, the two seem to lead mostly separate lives.
You are not on the campaign trail. How do you feel about campaigning?
Well, it's my choice not to be there.
So what would happen if Melania did divorce her husband? It's unlikely she'll be able to tell her side of the story. Trump's second wife, Marla Maples, signed a prenuptial agreement with an incredibly strict non-disclosure clause. According to Vanity Fair, it forbids publication of any diary, memoir, letter, story, photograph, interview, article, essay, account, or description or depiction of any kind whatsoever, whether fictionalized or not, concerning or seeming to concern the details of the party's marriage. It's likely that Melania's prenup included a similar clause. That means anyone waiting on a post-divorce memoir or run on the talk show circuit is likely going to end up disappointed. But here's a juicy detail. She reportedly renegotiated that prenup. According to reporting from the Washington Post's Mary Jordan, the reason Melania initially delayed joining her husband in the White House wasn't just to wait for her and Donald's son Barron to finish school, as the First Lady initially explained. Melania was also hoping the delay would tip the power in her direction during the renegotiation. Originally, her prenup hadn't been very generous, but by that point, she'd been married to Donald much longer than his previous wives. Jordan dished that Trump's inner circle was desperate for her to move in so she could act as a calming presence. Divorce lawyer Christina Previtt told Nikki Swift that she believed Trump's presidential victory was what spurred Melania to take action to renegotiate, theorizing, "I suspect that no one ever thought Donald was actually going to win. And then when he did win, Melania and everyone else realized the dramatic changes that they would need to make to their daily lives, including moving to Washington." Much of Melania's prenup renegotiations revolved around Barron, ensuring he had an equal share in the family fortune. Jordan wrote, "She wanted proof in writing that when it came to financial opportunities and inheritance, Barron would be treated as more of an equal to Trump's oldest 3 children." Melania is famously protective of her son, having aggressively pursued anyone who has criticized him publicly. As for what Melania herself will get financially if she divorces Trump, the exact numbers are unclear. The Mirror reports that she'll likely be able to keep any gifted jewelry and she'll be paid a tidy sum. However, it's unlikely to be enough to allow her to continue her current lavish lifestyle.
Gossip is always swirling around the First Lady, who shares very little with the public. Theories that Melania wanted nothing to do with the role seem to be confirmed after secretly recorded tapes came out featuring the former model disparaging migrant children at the border, as well as using some choice words about her obligations to decorate for Christmas, as The Guardian reported.
Who gives a about Christmas stuff and decoration, but I need to do it, right?
Earlier in the summer of 2020, The Art of Her Deal by Washington Post reporter Mary Jordan was released. POTUS and FLOTUS basically lead separate lives, and that includes sleeping in separate suites in the White House. The couple never sleeps together, and it's not something new. Speculation about their sleeping arrangements began surfacing back in 2016 when Trump moved into the White House alone. Multiple anonymous sources at the time revealed to Us Weekly that Melania never sleeps with her husband even when they are in the same residence, telling the outlet that they have separate bedrooms. Another insider revealed they never spend the night together, ever. According to Business Insider, these anonymous accounts about the unconventional couple have been traced back to 2006, when a Playboy playmate allegedly had an affair with Trump just a year after Donald and Melania were married. The unnamed woman alleged that Trump took her to his then residence at Trump Tower and showed off his wife's separate bedroom. The president has since addressed his wife's sleeping preferences, stating that she, quote, liked her space to read or be alone. When most people dream of getting married, it usually doesn't involve living in separate rooms from their spouse. A shared life usually means shared personal space as well. If you can't get a good night's sleep because your partner snores like a bear, it doesn't sound so bad to have a separate third-floor suite with a glam room, your own private gym, and your own decorations. And actually, it might not be that uncommon. According to a 2017 survey from the National Sleep Foundation, nearly 1 in 4 married couples in the U.S. sleep in separate beds. In the case of study participants, however, sleeping separately has more to do with getting enough sleep to work, take care of kids, and run a household, not to merely get away and enjoy alone time. While what really goes on behind closed doors in this presidential marriage is mostly fodder for gossip, the Trump camp certainly tries to keep the information about where the president and first lady sleep under wraps. History seems to be repeating itself, however. It wasn't all that long ago that the Kennedys slept separately while JFK was in office. Granted, he was a known philanderer, but it seems that as long as each partner is happy in the relationship, perhaps none of it matters.
Although there is some question as to how much time Melania spends there with her husband, when they do appear together, the couple take their meals in the most unusual way. In his book, Landslide: The Final Days of the Trump Presidency, author Michael Wolff describes the former first couple taking their meals with all the pomp and circumstance of someone who might still be a head of state. Both seem to love being the center of attention and dine in the center of the Mar-A-Lago patio restaurant in a roped-off section for everyone in attendance to fawn over. Wolff describes them as being looked at somewhat like zoo animals and then adds, No, that's not right. They are like a newly married couple. Every night is a wedding at which they spend their dinner greeting friends and well-wishers. Although Donald Trump spent most of his life as a New York resident and was born and raised in the New York City borough of Queens, he made Florida his permanent residency in 2019, according to the New York Times. When he took off on Air Force One on January 20th, 2021, he landed in Florida and Mar-a-Lago, where there was some dispute over whether he could legally live at the resort on an ongoing basis. In May of 2021, the town of Palm Beach determined he could stay. As the former president continues life at his own golf resort, he and Melania enter the patio restaurant after it's been nearly filled and are then greeted by a standing ovation and applause. However, CNN reported in April of 2021 that there's some question as to how much time the former First Lady lives where her husband lives. A source told CNN, "She's not a presence at Mar-a-Lago at all. She's not mingling with people and rarely interacts with her husband's staff. However, when she is seen, she takes in the adulation just like her husband when sitting down for a meal, smiling as guests stand and applaud." Melania then dines on the Dover sole and always has a Diet Coke with no ice, according to CNN. Her husband also has a penchant for Diet Coke and famously had what was known as a Diet Coke button on his Oval Office desk. All Trump had to do was press it and a butler would bring him his favorite beverage. CNN also reports that the former First Lady spends a good portion of her day receiving spa treatments and also spends time in her suite of rooms. She still maintains her own office and staff, although she does not retain any official duties, as so many former First Ladies have.